When I was 16 years of age and my nana had died, I instantly knew that she was still with me. I just never felt like she'd gone anywhere. Even though her physical body had died, I just knew she was still totally connected to me. And I couldn't, at that age of 16, I couldn't understand why the adults around me were saying she was gone. And I could understand their sadness and their feeling of grief, but I couldn't understand why they didn't see her. Like, I knew she was just there still, and I couldn't figure out why no one else could see that. It was, to me, it was totally natural that she was still there. And so I think that's why I found it so unusual that the adults around me were saying she was gone, and they were so distraught. So that was my first kind of experience of someone very close to me dying, and I just knew she was there. As life went on and people around me had died, I still had that same feeling. Like, I don't think they actually go anywhere. Was it just, so I started thinking, was it just me? Was I the only one thinking, was I being disillusioned? Or because everyone around me wasn't seeing the same that I was. So that made me think that I was wrong and they were right, because I was thinking differently. So I remember I had a very, very dear friend called Leanne. And Leanne went through cancer, I think 3 or 4 different times in her life. She started off with lymphoma, and she got through that with her treatments. And then she had 4 years of being clear. And then when she went for the last checkup after the 4-year mark, it returned again. And that happened to her 3 separate times. Each time she would get through the cancer and she would be clear, and then she would go and get her 4-year checkup, and it had returned again. And we spent many, many hours together sitting and talking a lot. She was so into the spiritual world, and she loved to know more. She was trying to learn more. I remember one particular occasion, her mum had actually passed before her, and we were sitting in my lounge room, and we had our other friend, Fran, with us. So there was me, Leanne, and Fran, and I think I was talking, and the 2 ladies were sitting on the other lounge, and I was talking, and Leanne said she was looking at me, and she said my face changed into her mother. She said, I saw my mother come through you, like my face physically changed. But Fran didn't see that. Only Leanne saw it. So there was something that Leanne wanted to see through me, and her mother showed her face through me to bring that comfort to Leanne. So unfortunately, Leanne did lose her life. She couldn't fight the cancer anymore. I guess it was about a year after she'd transitioned over. You know those dreams that you have where it's not a dream. You know it's a astral traveling. You've gone into another dimension. It's real. It's real. So in this particular dream that I was having that felt so real, I was taken to a room, and I opened the door. It was like a house, and I opened the door, and all the walls were, I don't know, it reminded me of a very old English home that had the wood paneling on the walls, and there was a lot of natural stonework. It was one of those houses that was built using a lot of natural materials, so a lot of timber, a lot of stone, and it was beautiful. It was like a beautiful home. And there was a table set up in the middle, just like you would have walked into a dining room and, of an old estate type home. And Leanne walked in, and I looked at her and I said, oh, you're not dead. She goes, no, we don't die. And I said, what do you mean we don't die? She said, we don't die. We just leave the physical body, but we're still here. We're still doing things. And we sat down and had a cup of tea, like we were She looked like how I remembered her. She looked really healthy. And we sat and we had a cup of tea together. And I know she talked to me and she told me a lot of things, but when I sort of woke up, I don't recall what she told. All I remember was her saying, "We don't die." And I remember having a cup of tea with her. And then there was a conversation afterwards, which I don't remember. So then about, I reckon, another, say, 6 years after that episode, I had a similar type dream, and Leanne was in it again. And in my dream, I'd walked into a walk-in wardrobe, and Leanne was in there. And I said, again, I said, "Leanne, you're not dead." She said, "No, I told you, we don't die. We don't go anywhere. We're in another dimension. That's all we are, but we're not dead." And I said, "What are you doing in my wardrobe?" And she said, she was looking at my clothes. She said, "I always liked your clothes. I always admired the way you dressed. And I was just looking at your clothes." And I said to her, "Can I ring your husband and tell him that you haven't died, that you're still here?" And she said, "No, you can't." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "He won't understand this. And I said, "But can I go there? Can I tell Fran? Can I ring Fran and tell her?" And she said, "No, this is just for you. This is just for you to understand, because a lot of people are not going to understand on that level, that we don't actually go anywhere, but you have the capability of understanding it, so we are sharing this information with you." So I kept it to myself. And then when I died last year in hospital and I left my body, that is when I totally understood what Leanne was saying. We don't die. We just, our internal soul, our higher self, our energy that's in there, just steps out of this human body, and it is still right here. As I said before, when I had that death experience, without ever having met the doctors that were in that room, or the nurses, or the staff that were around trying to revive my body, without ever having met them, my soul knew their soul. I just knew them, and I knew the life that they had created on this earth. I knew if they were married, if they had children, why they become a doctor. I just knew everything about them. I have never, like in my physical body, I can't know someone as well as I did when I was a soul. Like even my children, I know my children's personalities. I don't know their thoughts. I don't know what goes on in their minds. But when I was out of my physical body and I was a soul, I knew exactly what was in their minds. I knew how their emotions were. I knew what they were thinking. I knew everything like that. And like I knew strangers, people that I'd never met. I knew all about them as well. And it's the hardest thing to try to explain, because our egos and the way our mind works and the way we've been programmed to think, the way we've been taught, it's kind of like, because we can't see somebody who's died, because we can't see them with our physical eyes, we think they're not there. It's like air, isn't it? Air is all around us, and you forget that it's all around. Right this very moment, you're breathing in air, and you haven't stopped to think about that, because you can't see the air. It's just happening automatically. It's like that when we've died. The consciousness is still right there, but because we don't see it, we don't think it's there. Maybe we don't believe it because we can't see it. We have to see something with our physical eyes. But when you're in that quiet space within yourself, you can feel it. You can feel the energy of your loved ones around you. So rather than, if you can't see it with your physical eyes, you still feel it. And, you know, so many people say, I just knew that my mum was with me, or I knew my brother was with me. And I know my brother helped me, you know, get that thing that I was after. And how do you know that? How do you know that? Because in your consciousness, you know that we don't die. There's just something in your mind that's trying to work it all out and trying to convince you. And it's because you can't see it. That's where you have these doubts. Like, are they happy? Oh, are they happy? The place that you go when you leave this physical body is the most beautiful, warm and loving. It's like being hugged with love. It's not like even a love. You know, when I gave birth to my children, that moment that your child is born, that euphoric feeling of love that you have just given birth, or when you've fallen in love with somebody, that all those euphoric feelings of love, it doesn't even compare to what you feel when you've died out of this body and gone into the other dimensions. That love is unimaginable, and I totally understand those that have gone back there and don't want to come back here, because it is the most beautiful feeling ever. And if you've been here on earth and you've never felt that kind of love, and you've never felt any kind of love, you're not going to want to leave that. That is just the most beautiful place. And I've always said it, even as a little person, without realizing it, it's a better place over there. But we can't just stay over there. We have to come here, because it's this physical heavy body that allows us to feel emotions on a very deeper level. I don't see spirits sort of coming in here laughing their heads off, or crying their eyes out, or having anxiety, or anything like that. They know what emotions are, but they don't feel them because they're not in the physical body. It's the physical body that gets to experience emotions on a much deeper level. And we get to touch things. I had somebody ask me the other day, if he died, would he still be able to play the Xbox in a spirit form? The answer is no, because it is so hard for, like, I've got a book here. It's hard, you know, it's made up of particles that are all put together to make something solid. It's hard to move a solid object if you're just air. If you are just a light energy, it takes an awful lot of energy to move something. And they can do it, you know, they can use your energy, they can use other energy around, but it's really hard for them to. So how are you going to be holding an Xbox controller? And spirit energy doesn't really need to play games. That's what you come to Earth for. You come to Earth to experience riding on a bus, playing games, doing stuff in the physical. That's why we came here, because we can't do that. Imagine how difficult it is for a spirit energy to be trying to contact someone and they're not listening, or trying to, what if they feel like they want to open something and they can't, they physically can't. You can only do that when you're in the body, in the physical. So I know I've had some people say, oh, look, I'd much rather be over in the non-physical, where I don't have to pay taxes and I don't have to worry and I don't have to, you know, stress about anything. I can fly anywhere and I can just feel love. Yes, that is true, but you also miss out on what you get here in the physical earth, the experiences that we get here as well. And I know a lot of spirits that, you know, they choose to come back because they loved it so much. They loved what they could do here. They loved all the things they could share and all the lessons that they were going to go through. So they keep coming back. They die and they come back. They die and they come back. Because we get the beauty of both, don't we? So, we don't die. We're still here. The more you start, I can't guarantee, and I can't convince people enough to meditate, because you have to get yourself into a mind frame where you are totally opening up the third eye area, where you can see more. The more you use your conscious mind to connect, the more you do it, the more the other physical senses come in. And then you can, so I see a spirit with my physical eyes as well as with my conscious eye, my third eye. I see it with both. So I actually see them moving through the house. I hear them. I can smell them. I know who it is. And it's only because I have constantly, my whole entire life, meditated, done mindful exercises, been very, very conscious of what I think about. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be at the stage that I'm at. And I've spoken to a few people and they've said to me the only way that they've got it is through constant meditation and watching videos of people talking about subjects like this, watching a wide range of different channelers, psychics, life coaches, meditation teachers, anything that's in this field. The more you watch it, participate in it, and start to change your mindset, the more you'll start to see them and feel them, and you will then know as well that your relatives have not gone to some faraway place in the sky, in heaven. They are right here, and they are part of who we are still. I really wish I could, what's in my mind, the way I would like to be able to draw it or create something to show what actually happens. So you've got this solid body, and inside the solid body is energy. And here's the solid body, and the inside is energy. And when you come together on Earth as humans, you've got that barrier, right? You've got the barrier of the human body. So even though you can still connect, you've got a barrier. When someone dies and that barrier is gone and they are just energy, that energy can go inside you. It can connect so much better. So people are actually closer to you when they have died than they were when they were alive. And I remember years ago there was a book, what was that? It was someone who was channeling I can't think what it's called. I'll have to have a look. It was like White Feather, or he was an Indian spirit that was coming through a man, and this man was just devastated because his wife had died. And this spirit said to him, she's closer to you now that she's passed than when she was on Earth. And he couldn't understand it. And I remember I was probably 20 years old when I heard that story, and I was thinking about how are you closer? And I know now. I know how you are closer, because when I died, my energy could get into the mind of my children. It could get into the mind of the people in the hospital. It could get into the mind of relatives. I knew everything. Like it's telepathy. I just knew everything. So I totally understand how we are closer to people once we've died. And even with my own mum, with my mum and I had a lot of personality clashes while we were both, where she was on Earth with me. We saw things differently, and we didn't have a very close relationship. Since her passing, it took me about a year before I felt her energy. For that whole year that after she had died, I didn't feel her. And I was doing readings for other people and feeling their grandmothers and their dads and their brothers and their children were coming through, but my own mother was not coming through. And it was about a year later she showed up. She had been healing. While she was alive, she was in a physical body that was very unwell because she had multiple sclerosis. And she had a lot of soul issues, so she was in a healing process. She was not connecting with me for a whole year because she was healing herself. Now I just feel her come in and I understand her. I totally understand her and she totally understands me. And there is no judgment. I do not judge anything that she did on earth. I just understand that's what she was like. And she understands me. But while we were both here on earth in the physical, our egos were judging one another. I was judging her for decisions she was making. She was judging me for decisions I was making because they were opposite to what we both were thinking. Now that she's gone into the other dimension and she has understanding, and I have understanding a lot more than I did, we are very, very close. Our energy is very, very close. So it's an amazing journey that we are all on. We cannot avoid the day where our soul is going to leave our body. It's inevitable. But remember, while you're in the physical, enjoy the things that you're doing in the physical. When you just sit down later and have a drink, and it's a relaxing drink, either a hot drink, cuppa, or a wine or something, whatever you're doing, just take notice of, I'm holding something physical and I'm putting it into my body. They can't do that. A spirit energy can't do that. I'm getting to enjoy. I'm looking at the sunrise. I'm hearing the birds. I can drive my car. I can do stuff in this physical that they can't do. And then there's things that we can't do either, when, like that spirit can do. I mean, I certainly can't mind read everybody, but I could do that when I had died. So, yeah, I think it's all about feeling gratitude for where you are right now. Right now, you are in the physical. You chose to come here. You chose these experiences. And they are of value to you. They are going to add to your evolution. So I just wanted to share that with you because I just loved when Leanne showed up and said to me, we don't die. And she was so excited to share that with me. And I'm so glad I got to experience leaving my body and dying, and then being able to come back and share what I experienced and to help other people have no fear. You should never fear death. I think the fear comes from, we think we're going to leave people and we're not going to be here for them. We don't leave them. We never leave them. We're actually closer to them when we've died than when we are here on earth. And that's something to remember. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.